Hello, Tech Pros, episode 107.
Get your skin in the game, get excited, make sure what you're working on.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, James Studdart. Happy Tuesday, James.
Happy Tuesday, Tad.
I almost forgot what day it is today. Today's Productivity Tuesday, man.
Definitely is. It's something to look forward to and get some stuff done.
Absolutely. Let's get a lot of stuff done today. James Studdart is a full-stack .NET developer, solutions architect, and team leader based in the UK. He has experience with a wide range of markets, from tropical fish to domestic services to international freight to the holiday industry, to name just a few. James does a lot of commuting and fills that time with podcasts as much as possible. Hint, hint, nod, nod. Hello, Tech Pros. When he's not working, he keeps and breeds tropical fish. James is on the committee for the British Cichlid or Cichlid, depending on what part of the world you're in, the British Cichlid or Cichlid Association, and is the chairman of the North Wales Aquarius Society. When he's not doing anything fishy, he's also an active member of the Shock Team 6 Airsoft team at Shock and Awe Airsoft in North Wales. James also has a young family, twin boys who recently turned 1, who I know take a lot of time out of anyone. I can only keep up with one kid, let alone 2 at the same time. That's amazing. And all this together means that James does not know the meaning of downtime or the phrase being unplugged. So my Sunday episodes, they mean absolutely nothing to you, do they?
Well, they're a bit like a pipe dream. They're that thing I'm aiming for. Everyone else wants to make millions. I just want a Sunday off.
Oh man, ain't that the truth? I would love to have just this business self-supporting, so I can do this podcasting full time for the rest of my, career for a while, because it's just so much fun. But what it would really be nice is to actually get a Sunday unplugged instead of talking about how everybody else celebrates their Sunday unplugged.
Well, you're keeping those podcasts coming. You're stacking them up beforehand, so you'll get there. I'm sure you'll get there.
I'll get there. Absolutely. It's all, the more productive I am, see, tied it back to Productivity Tuesday, the more productive I am during the week, the more batch processing that we could do, then the more chances I will have at a successful Sunday being unplugged.
Definitely. Shoot for the moon.
Absolutely.
Shoot for the moon and land shoot for the stars and land on the moon.
Yeah, shoot for something. Just
yeah.
Shoot for a day off. Hey, James, I want to call you out specifically because you're actually the first guest that I've had on the show that I know of, that I'm aware of, that we met from you being an audience member. You actually listened to the show first, and then we started talking on a Slack channel and got to know each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you. Thank you so much for listening. First of all, thank you so much for listening. And thank you again for reaching out to me. I love talking to my audience members. I love hearing what you guys think about productivity or being unplugged or leadership or technology or whatever. And most of my guests that I have on the show come from other sources, right? They come from me networking. They come from me socializing. They come from me reaching out to people and say, hey, do you want to be a guest on the show? But you're actually the first person who listened first, and then we got in touch and started talking.
Yeah, it's an odd one because I sit and listen to all these podcasts and listen to all these professionals and how they've come up and how they've been doing this, that, and the other since they were young, and I always sit back and think, I wish I could be that guy or that girl, and be as good as they are. And coming onto a podcast myself, it's unbelievable, really, to come on here and talk about my experiences and how I get along.
Well, it's from my perspective, it's from starting the show, I wanted to start a show for a couple of years, and I wanted to do something, and I just never took the initiative to actually do it until I did it. And once I did it, I found out that, you know what, it's not it's not that hard. Like the barrier to entry, especially, coming as a software developer, dude, all the listeners here on the show are so technical. There's no technical barrier to getting into podcast publishing, right? You have to have a media server and a host to host your media files. You have to have an RSS feed for each of the shows, and then you got to submit it to different places. But that's it. That's the only technical barriers. The other barriers are soft skill barriers. They're mindset barriers. They're there's nothing. There's no legal channels that says, I'm sorry, you don't have the qualification to be a podcaster. You can't do it, right? There's no governing body that reviews our shows, reviews our topics, and say, you know what, Chad Bostic does not have the qualifications to be a podcaster. Thank you very much for applying. You can't do it. So, James, you can totally start your own show. You can be guests on other shows. You can do whatever you want to do. It's the internet, man. We can own it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the show that we talked about earlier that we met on, that I think really opened my eyes that these guys that you are listening to on these podcasts, they come across as these rock stars, and you think, wow, I want to be like them. Mm-hmm. And when you actually get down and you talk to them day in, day out, they have the same fears, they have the same barriers when new technology comes out, and it makes you realize, they are human. No matter how awesome they come across online.
Yeah, except for Joe Zack. So Joe, I'm going to call out Joe because I know Joe. He lives here in Central Florida, very near to me, and we've met up at Code Camp and at Podcasters Group, and I've had him on my show. Joe is actually a robot. I don't think people realize that. He has a pretty good AI, so he comes across as pretty human-ish, right? He's got pretty good self-awareness in his AI, but he's actually a robot. But no, anyway, just kidding, Joe. You're an awesome person and a great human being. Joe is one of the co-stars, hosts of the Coding Blocks podcast. So if you guys have not checked out Coding Blocks, big shout out to those guys. And they've got an amazing community of people who are just dying for the next episode. Guys, we are all waiting for your next episode. Please publish it. So go check out Coding Blocks if you haven't seen it. And James and I met actually on the Coding Blocks Slack channel, right? So we were in the Slack channel. They've got, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of members of software developers and startup entrepreneurs and designers and everybody else in their Slack channel. And James and I were talking about podcasts and code or whatever, and then he reached out and we started developing a communication off the air, or developing a relationship on the air, and now here we are on the air, continuing the conversation publicly, where there's billions across the universe out there in the stars and planets that are listening to us right now.
Yeah, it's that's been great. Slack, I think when I first heard of Slack, it was some over-elaborated chat program.
Right.
But the more I've got into using it, it's fantastic, and I've implemented it with my team at my day job as well, and it's really, really good, really handy.
Yeah, I've used a lot of different chat programs over the years, and what I like about this is, you can just open it up publicly and have anybody join. Actually, I'm making an announcement. This is the first time I've announced. James knows because he's in it, because he's a buddy of mine now that we've talked on the Coding Blocks Slack channel and talked offline. But you guys can also join my Slack channel. I've got a Hello Tech Pros Slack channel. So if you're already using Slack, the best way is probably just go directly to the website, go to hellotechpros.com, and then on there is a button to request an invite, because normally in Slack you have to send out an email for each person that wants to be part of the group. Well, Joe Zack over on Coding Blocks, he pointed me to a little script, a little WordPress plugin. So now I have a button on my website, hellotechpros.com. You click on that, join the Slack channel, and boom, you're in, and you can say hey to me and to James and to Joe and to, I don't know. It's a small community now, but hopefully it'll grow and have some good conversations there. So, James, let's talk about Productivity Tuesday. Let's lead into that because we talked enough about soft skill stuff. Let's get into being productive. Dude, you got so much going on between your work as a full stack .NET developer, as man, you do all this tropical fish breeding and raising, and you're on a bunch of different committees, and then you play your Shock Team 6, and you got your twin boys. How do you do it all?
I don't sleep.
You're a robot too. That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, I used to not sleep. As I got a little bit older, I've had to try and find some time. About 6 hours a night sort of does me. But it's all about trying to prioritize where I am and what I'm doing. I think when it comes to my personal life, I'm not organized at all. My wife would vouch for that. But, I'm probably one of the most disorganized people that she knows. But when it comes down to my working life, it's a whole different ball game. I've obviously got calendars for organising myself. I use Trello to keep track of what I'm doing, and even down to Facebook groups and that for Cichlid Association and for Northwest Aqua Society, and the airsoft team as well.
Awesome. So it's all about. I'm the same as you, man. Like outside of this podcast show or outside of my other jobs that I've had, I'm a mess. I'm just a train wreck. And if it wasn't for my beautiful wife that kept me on schedule, or at least kept me aware that there was a schedule and I just didn't know where it is, then my life would be in complete ruins. But professionally, I'm all about agile. I'm all about calendar notifications to let me know, like blocking off time on my calendar to do certain things, prioritizing all the work. So I feel you, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think if it wasn't for the calendar on my phone, I wouldn't know which way I was going, which way was up, and which way was down.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a time in your past where you struggled with productivity. So right now you're rocking and rolling, but surely, unless you're a robot like Jozak, you have had struggles sometime in the past with productivity, either personally, just you doing your own code, doing your own work, or on a group. But tell us about the time when you struggled the most with a lack of productivity.
Yeah, I think it's going back quite a way in my career as a developer. But one of the biggest issues I had was not believing in the product, being asked to do things that I didn't agree with. From one point of view, they could have been illegal. Other points of view, they could have been a grey area. And I think that takes a lot out of you. Mm-hmm. It's that you're very much against what you should be doing. The code that you're having to write, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with you. And that really makes you sit there and think, why am I doing this? And you've got others around you saying, yeah, it's horrible, it's not great. And others that are saying, well, it's a job and, we just get on with it. But I've never been somebody that just wants a job. It's always pushing for that next thing, always trying to be as good as it can be. And I think if you're not pushing yourself hard enough, you're not trying, you're not making the best of what you can do. And that sort of comes back into, which I think has been spoken about before, is imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. I suffer with that massively. And I think unless you're sat at your desk at any point throughout your career and you think once or twice a month, what am I doing here? Am I the right guy for this job? Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
These guys around me better than me? Are they laughing at me? I don't know. If you don't have that, again, I don't think you're working hard enough.
Yeah, dude, I have struggled with that imposter syndrome. I didn't have a name for it, but I've struggled with it my entire career, my entire life. Even going back, looking at myself, who I was in high school, in junior high, there was some point along the way when I was a happy-go-lucky kid without a care in the world to now there's expectations of me, and I don't believe in myself. I don't believe that I live up to the expectations that other people, oh, Chad's a great guy. He's a nice kid. He gets so much stuff done. He does great work. And then when I got hired, the first time I got hired into a software development role, I've mentioned this on the show, but I haven't really told the story, is I didn't have a college degree. I still do not have a college degree, but I've been in software development, professionally for 20 years now. When I first got the job, I thought it was kind of like a joke. Like, I wrote code for fun, just like for video games and stuff like that. But someone actually pay me to do something I would do for free when I don't have any, edumacation, as we call it here in America, right? We don't have any, I didn't have any good, I didn't have a computer science degree. I didn't have any, database courses or algorithm courses or anything like that under my belt. It was all very much just trial and error, just figuring it out as I go. And now, fast forward 20 years later, I still feel that today. Every time I get on the show, every time I do a podcast with somebody who has all these amazing experiences more than me, I get self-conscious. And so I have to take a deep breath, and before I hit record, put myself into a state of, no, go away, imposter syndrome, get out of my head. You can do this. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I've got a similar story. As a kid, I was very, very nervous, very shy, around different people, very close friends and family. I was the clown, but around anybody that I saw as a threat, I was very meek and very shy. And I think through that and through the messing around, and you put all these barriers up to try and protect yourself, that a lot of people then started thinking and saying to me, are you ever going to amount to anything? Because I never did anything in school. I never really did anything in high school. It wasn't until I went to college and then on to university that I actually started applying myself. And everybody used to say, you're never going to do anything. You're not good enough. You're never good enough. Whatever you do isn't good enough. And I've taken that with me ever since. Even now, I always look at what I do and think, you're not good enough. You're not doing what you should be. Everyone's doing better than you are. There's always that next level. In a way, it's been good. It's helped me progress my career and push myself forward. But I think it's held me back as well. Because sometimes I do sit there and think, I'm not good enough to be doing this. I'm not good enough to go for that job. Or, no, there's no way I can pick that technology up and learn that. Whereas the reality is, I probably could do it. But it's having that that willingness to pick it up and give it a go. And it's a battle constantly within me. And very recently, I've been speaking to some colleagues, and some of them are saying, what are you doing? You're really, really good. You're better than what you're currently doing. You could be so much more. And that always steps me back and always humbles me, because I always put it back to when everybody told me I was never good enough. And growing up, that was probably a low point, but consistently until I decided to stop listening to those people that say you can't do it. But there's still that part of me inside that says you can't. You've got to fight your own demons.
Yeah, man, that's so powerful, because we do, each of us have our own inner demons. And for me, I am my own worst critic. I get either nothing, no feedback, or I get positive feedback. I very rarely anymore as an adult get people saying, you're no good, kid, shut up, go away, leave me alone, stop doing what you're doing. Very rarely does that happen. And when it does happen, most of the time I can see it's that person coming from a place of anger or a place of fear or something, right? As a manager in a software development team, I got several, no, we can't do that, because there was a fear of change in the organization. There was a fear of people losing their job because we would, automate systems and processes. But very rarely have I had someone, as an adult in the last 10, 15 years say, no, you suck, stop. But yet I internally say that to myself all the time. And it does absolutely jack with my productivity, because if I'm sitting here thinking about, I suck, but I'm kind of good, but I suck, but nobody wants to hear me, but I suck, but the things I've done in the past have been kind of successful. Yeah, but you still suck. Sitting there thinking those thoughts does nobody any good at all, because all I'm doing is sitting and thinking and worrying instead of getting stuff done.
Yeah, definitely. I had a very similar thing to that you were saying about your podcast. I've tried blogging several times. I've set up a blog. I've started writing. I've been putting articles up there. I've sat down. I've made a list of 30, 40 articles I'm going to write. And then that little devil on my shoulder says, but if you know this, then everybody knows this. So what are you doing it for? You're wasting your time. And they've always sort of fell to one side. I've lost interest in them and then closed them down. And it's something I picked up again recently, not actually blogging, but trying to get some of my work out there in open source projects. I've started a couple of those. They're nothing groundbreaking, they're nothing amazing, but it's getting myself out there. It's putting something out there for that critique. So if other people look at it and go, yeah, this is good, or no, this is bad. And I get a lot from it because my projects are on GitHub. And looking at the traffic through there, and then you see that somebody's cloned your repository, and it gives you that real pat on the back from somebody that you don't know is saying, "Yeah, this is good. I'm gonna have a look at this." And it's not just those yes men that are behind you going, "Yeah, you're great, you're amazing," and totally ignoring those others that are saying, "Don't do it, don't do it. You're gonna make a fool of yourself. Everybody's gonna laugh."
No, I think that's key. First of all, congratulations on putting something out there, whether it's the blog or whether it's your code on GitHub. Just the fact that you're putting stuff out there publicly and looking for feedback, looking for external validation, or just wanting to give back to society, you know, I think that's remarkable, and people don't do it enough. People, and I'm not picking on software development community, I'm picking on, you know, just the world in general. We are all consumers. We all watch everybody else, from reality TV to other people's code to other people's music or whatever. And you got to create. You got to, whatever is inside of you, inside of your heart, you got to generate. You got to publish. You got to put it out there. If nobody likes it, fine, but at least you put it out there. But I guarantee you the world is big enough. Somebody's going to appreciate it, right? And somebody, that only takes one person to fork your repo or to, you know, to start contributing to it. And then you do get that bump and you're like, hey, what? Somebody cares. And it's a random person, like you said, that's not a yes man, that's not going to be like, oh, I've been James's friend since, you know, 6th grade. Of course I'm going to support him in everything he does. Just some random person you don't even know says, I'll subscribe to that podcast. I'll look at that code. I'll read that article and you know, plus one it. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, definitely is. And it's getting out there and giving it a go. The worst thing that you can do is sit back and think, what if I'd done this? What if I did that? And that's one thing I do like to go out and do. And a couple of my close friends are always on to, what's his next money-making scheme? And I've done web hosting and web development as a business. I've done just web development as a business. I've run a tropical fish import breeding business. But then the boys came along, and that was a bit of it was a business that curbed one of my needs of collecting tropical fish. It helped me get them a little bit cheaper. And because the boys were there and taking up so much time, and the fish business wasn't really paying for itself, that's been closed down for now. But I've been there and I've tried it, and it's definitely that's what it's about. It's finding your path. Find what makes you productive, what drives you. If it doesn't excite you when you think about it, when you explain to somebody about it, then don't do it. Because in 6-12 months' time, you're going to be regretting that you went down that route. Maybe you come up with a great business idea and you're not that stoked about it. Do you want to be in 12 months' time getting out of bed, as you are now, thinking, oh, I've got to go to work? If you're going to build something yourself, you don't want to. It doesn't want to feel like work. You want to get up and be excited about it.
Absolutely, James. This is so critical. I mean, it ties into Motivation Monday. It ties into some of the other messages we have here on the show. But I love how you're tying it back to productivity. If you're not excited about it, if it's not a hell yeah, I'm doing that, no matter what gets in my way, no matter what obstacles are in the way, then it's a no. Then just walk away. Like, whatever job you have, like, there's so many software development jobs, there's so many entrepreneurship opportunities, there's so many opportunities out there. You just have to be open to them. And if whatever you're currently working on or whatever you're thinking about accepting, if it's not a heck yes, I'm doing that, I would love to do that, then it's probably a no.
Yeah, you just can't be productive on something that you're not putting everything in. And as a new friend, I would like to call him, that a guy I'm currently working with, he says that about getting your skin in the game. If you haven't got your skin in the game, there's no productivity for you. You've got to believe. You've got to believe in what you're working on. And even if it's the worst project in the world, if you can believe somewhat in it, that productivity level is going to be there, and that shines out and makes everyone else in your team productive as well. Because people feed off you, especially in my position as the team leader. Mm-hmm. If I'm really negative about it, then that reflects on the team, and then they don't output very well. And one of the things I believe it was from your podcast, Chad, is about being Tiggers and Eeyores, and I brought that into the team, and they hate on me and rip me constantly about it. But every team meeting, it's don't be an Eeyore, let's be Tiggers. Let's get stuff out there. Let's be productive. Let's get what we've got done and to a better quality. Let's turn these things around.
Yeah, wow. I'm being quoted in a meeting. I'm actually blushing right now. This is kind of weird, kind of awkward. Talking to a fan of the show.
Yeah, I've got a very unhealthy obsession with Winnie the Pooh. It's all over my twins' nursery. It's the toys that I buy them. It's something I grew up with, so it's very ingrained in my life. And when it came up on the podcast, I was like, yes, that's exactly how it should. That is the best way I've ever heard of explaining it.
Awesome. Well, James, in just the moment, I want to ask you more about the Tiggers and Eeyores on your team and how you can, as a leader, get your team to be more like Tiggers and jump in with, heck yes, we're going to do this, we're going to own it, and get to work and be productive. But first, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Okay, we're back with James Studdart. We've been talking to James, who is a full-stack.NET developer, solutions architect, team leader, knowledgeable about all things fisheries, and shoots people with airsoft rifles. He's a man of many talents. We've been talking to James about being productive and lack of productivity in environments when you're just not excited, you're just not motivated about the product or the service or the task or the whatever it is that's assigned to you to do. And like as an individual, there's so many options out there that if you're not, I love the way you said it, James, when you're explaining what you do, if you don't get excited about it when you're explaining it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. So at work, right, especially if we have a 9-to-5 job, we work for somebody else, we have an employer, there are many times that we like the overall company, maybe we like the overall industry, maybe on average, right, we like being in the position that we're in, but there are certain parts of the job that we're just not excited about, right? For me, it was always the timesheets. It was always trying to convince everybody on the team that we had to use timesheets, or on certain app dev projects that I worked on where I could tell that the end users hated it. It was just the manager or the VP of whatever department that wanted it done. But their employees, the people who are actually going to use it, were like, I'm not using it. And so it was very, very difficult for me to get fired up about it and want to work on that project. So you're a team lead in a software development group. what kind of struggles does your team have? We talked about the Tiggers versus Eeyores. What type of struggles does your team have when they're being Eeyores, but you want them to be Tiggers? When you want them to be excited about something, but they're very hesitant?
Yeah, I'm reasonably new to the team, and there was a lot of disengagement with the business as to where the department should be going and what they should be working on. And it was a lot of the time it was left to certain members of the development team to decide what was being worked on. So people got very disillusioned with it. The productivity dropped out of it because people were just doing whatever they thought they needed to do, and then the business would come in and say, "No, that's not what we wanted." Well, what do you want? Oh, we don't know. We'll know when you show us.
Mm.
And trying to turn that round, we're trying to get engagement from the business, and we brought in Agile in Scrum at the moment, and that's really helped with the team because they've now got visibility on stuff that's actually getting done, whereas before they were a little bit blind to the larger projects, so they couldn't get excited about it. They couldn't bounce on their heads of rubber and their tails of springs to to achieve the final goal. And we've just completed our first sprint. I think we're almost at the end of our second sprint now, and the team is really pumped up about it. They think it's great. They're actually finally seeing the benefit of the stand-ups first thing in the morning, so that we know what's going on. Everybody knows what everyone else is working on within the team, and it's fantastic. But trying to bring that in, trying to get them to understand that this is where we were heading, that was hard. And because they've been defeated in the past, they've had other people come in and try to do this process with them. I tried to do it and failed. We've had project manager come in and try and do it, and he's finally getting there. That there's all that thought process of we've seen this before. It's not going to happen. Give it 6 months and we're back to where we were before, and nothing's going to get done. But it's just pushing forward, keeping positive, and as a team leader, trying to be as positive as I can. And a lot of them, if they do listen to this, will be sitting there thinking, well, he's been an Eeyore, I've heard him. And yeah, we're all like that at times.
Right.
And it can be disheartening. But you do have to pick yourself up and think, no, we all need to be in this together. And if I'm feeling a bit down about a project, then one of the team should help pick me up. And if one of my team's feeling down, I'll pick them up on it. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes to one side, so what's going on. You're not liking what you're working on. Do you need to work on something new? Are you feeling that you're being sort of railroaded into one specific area and you don't want to be in that area? What is it that's going to make you want to be in the game and want to be productive? And that's helped a lot. I've had one particular member of the team who was very, very close to throwing his shirt in and saying, "That's it, I'm done." But I've managed to turn that around by exposing him to new parts of the system, new projects, and getting him really excited about where we're going and what we're doing, and that's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. That motivation, that engagement is absolutely critical to a team's productivity. If you got a bunch of people who are just punching the clock, just like, I'm coming to work, doing the thing, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever I do doesn't really matter because we're gonna unplug it 6 months from now. We're gonna take it all back and go through another process. We're gonna take it all back and we're going to re-engineer it. We're gonna take it all. So whatever I do today doesn't matter. Those are productivity killers. They will absolutely destroy the productivity on an individual personal level as well as in a group setting. So you have to, regardless of if you're in management and have that boss title, or if you're a team lead trying to facilitate the productivity, or if you're just a team member on the team that's sitting there watching everybody around you, including your manager, including your team lead, like be very down and out about whatever's going on, somebody has to be that beacon of hope. And that's all you need. That's all you need is hope, right? You just need hope that things will turn around, and you have to grab onto that hope, and you got to pull it out in front and let everybody see how hopeful you are and how by golly, you're not going to let this bad thing get you down and turn you into an Eeyore. We're all going to grab onto this hope, and we're going to, regardless of what happens in the future, that's in the future. For today, we're going to hold on to this hope and be as productive as we can.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it can be hard. We've gone through a spate of probably 6 or 7 projects that we've put a lot of hard effort into and a lot of time, and they get shelved to the point where we don't shelve projects anymore. We've got a warehouse that we put them in. It's a bit of a running joke for the IT department, but we're coming out the other side of that. We're getting things done, and we're being productive because we're putting these processes in place. And I think if you don't have those processes, they don't have to be written down, but everybody needs to know at least what they are and how they work, and that helps you to get your product out there and get things done.
Awesome stuff. Great advice, James. Man, I could jazz on this all day long, but you know what? We're pretty much running out of time. We're kind of over our 30-minute area, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. If you don't mind, share some parting words of wisdom for our audience, the best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Final words would be get your skin in the game, get excited, make sure what you're working on motivates you. I know it's not Motivation Monday, but without that motivation, productivity is very, very hard. And if you see other people around you that can't be productive, help them. Find out why. Be that Tigger that drags Eeyore along. Tell Eeyore where his tail is, and you'll get there. Make sure you've got your processes in place so you know what you're working on as a team, and the future will be bright. And if you want to contact me, my website's jamesstuddart.co.uk. You can get to me via LinkedIn. My name's not very common, so it's quite easy to find me. And as has been introduced in this podcast, you can find me in the Hello Tech Pros podcast Slack channel.
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Let's invite everybody to the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel. So if you guys need an invite, if you're not already using Slack, you should. Well, if you're using something else, if you're using, let's see, what is Atlassian has one. Gosh, I can't remember it. I used to use it. Anyway, there's a bunch of different tools, but Slack is awesome because you can join multiple channels, multiple different kind of chat rooms, and the Hello Tech Pros channel is there. So go to hellotechpros.com. Tell you what, go to hellotechpros.com/107. That's the show notes page for this episode. On that page, you will have all the different ways to connect with James. We will have his GitHub link there so you can check out his code and start forking it and doing awesome things with it, and maybe give him some feedback on his code. You can also find the links to connect with James on his website, as well as on LinkedIn and Facebook and all that kind of good stuff. And also on the upper right-hand side of the page, there is a join the Slack channel button, little orange button up in the upper right. And so that's hellotechpros.com/107. James, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for reaching out to me on the Coding Blacks Slack channel. Thank you so much for talking to me and getting me involved in your life and letting me know what's going on with you, because this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. The best part of all of my jobs throughout my career has been having these one-on-one conversations with other professionals that work with technology in all the different companies that I've worked with. And this is exactly why I love doing this as my full-time career going forward, is because I get to meet new people every day and talk to them about the things that are going on in their world and see what makes them tick. And I just really, really appreciate you listening to the show and then reaching out to me. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Although this podcast might be one that I don't listen to. I don't know if I could face listening to myself.
Thank you for the honesty. That's okay. We will have everybody else listen to it. All the listeners tell you what, James is not going to listen to his own voice. He doesn't want to hear that. So after listening to this, why don't you send him a note? Go to hellotechpros.com/107. Send him a note on his website, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel, and let him know what an awesome job he did, because he needs that feedback just the same as I need this feedback as well. Anyway, James, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks very much for having me.
You bet.
Pleasure.
Tech Pros, just besides going to the show notes page and interacting with us, just take this to heart. You got to have skin in the game, like James was saying. If you're not motivated, your productivity is worthless. It doesn't matter what tools you put in place. It doesn't matter what process you put in place. It doesn't matter what new shiny things come out that promise that they will increase productivity. If you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be as productive as someone who loves what they do but has a crappy process and has no tools and does everything manually. They're still going to have a bigger output than you. So get in a place where you can get that level of motivation. Find somebody else, find a Tigger around the office that can help bring you up, and just tell them, hey, look, sir, madam, I'm struggling with motivation and I want to be productive, but I'm struggling with productivity because I'm struggling with motivation. Help me in the one. Give me something that I can buy into. Is there one aspect about this? Can you introduce me to some users of this software? Can you introduce me to the customers who are using this product that I'm supporting? You know, can we look at the financials? Whatever it is that gets you motivated, there's got to be some aspect of that job that you can wrap your head around and get motivated about. You know what? I can't fix everything, but I can contribute to this person's success, right? I can help James with his problem here. So take a look at that, get motivated, and then productivity will follow. You've been listening to James Studdart, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/107. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Productivity Tuesday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I are talking about leadership. Thursday, technology. Friday, people and communication. Saturday, entrepreneurship. Sunday, being unplugged. Monday, motivation. And then we do it all over again next Tuesday for productivity. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.